So I'll be talking about football manager positional roles, and I'll be going from the more defensive positional roles to more attacking positional roles. And I'll be giving examples for each role in the game. We'll start from goalkeepers and then we'll end with strikers, and I'll be giving examples for each positional role. So there isn't much variation between goalkeeper roles. The attack, defend, or support just means how involved the goalkeeper will be in your gameplay, with the regular goalkeeper being more conservative, while the super keeper is more the Neuer kind of goalkeeper you expect. A very good example of a regular goalkeeper is Courtois, but you can also think of goalkeepers like De Gea or Buffon. And of course, the stereotypical example of a super keeper is Neuer. We can also think of Ter Stegen and, in general, Barca goalkeepers or Manchester City goalkeepers. Now, we'll be talking about regular defenders, and there's much variation amongst defenders compared to goalkeepers. Starting from central defender, then libero ball playing defender, no nonsense centre back, and white centre back. The central defender will be more conservative. A good example being Van Dijk, not really a tiki taka kind of defender. Of course, he can pass the ball, but it's not like a PK. All in all, they are very solid and they will help you protect leads and also just carry out defensive responsibilities. Next up, we have the libero. Libero is often deployed in a three centre back formation. Libero is similar to a sweeper as they drop deep to cover the other centre backs, but unlike regular sweepers, they also move forward. So you might sometimes see them move up to the defensive midfielder position. A good example of a libero is John Stones for Manchester City. All in all, if you're using a three at the back formation, this is a very good position to use. Of course, a great archetype for the ball playing defender is Gerard Piqué of Barca. This defender is very good on the ball. Sometimes they're also good at attacking. They can head or even shoot sometimes. Obviously, Piqué's background as a striker also helps. A good example right now will be Eric Garcia of Barca, who is really good on the ball. Paul Kubasi. In general, a lot of Barca defenders, it's part of their training of being able to handle the ball, be able to handle pressure, and still retaining the ball. They are basically defensive midfielders playing the centre back position. That's what you think of when you have a ball playing defender. Another Barcelona player making the list is Ronald Araujo. A lot has been said about his defensive liabilities. Obviously, he's improved in his passing and decision making a bit, but the no-nonsense centre back is someone you don't necessarily want to be on. You're always depend on him to keep the ball or give crazy passes. He's someone that is a clearance first kind of player. They are great when you want to defend the lead or when you're playing a regular system. Like Ronaldo will do very well in the Prem, where you just need to defend rather than holding on to the ball or you're a possession side. So they are like the antithesis of a ball playing defender. If it's not obvious by this list already, I'm obviously a Barcelona fan. Koundé is sort of he plays as a wing back for Barca right now, but he was a former centre back. It's sort of cheating, put him as a wide centre back because that's not really what he plays. But he really fits well as a wide centre back, a player who can start out at the centre but also move out wide. If you play him in a three at the back formation, the wide centre back starts at the centre playing as a regular defender, and depending on if it's on support or attack, the wide centre back would stray further wide and may even be involved in build up like a regular wing back. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And here's a short funny clip that I saw.
Keeper's out of his goal. So Maxima only fostered a beat goes round him, and now it comes back.
Just put the ball in the net.
And does. Can he play a colleague through? It's Jacob Murphy released. Murphy one-on-one. Jacob Murphy to win it.
Just put it in the net!
Up next, we have fullbacks. There are wingbacks, fullbacks, no nonsense fullbacks, complete wingbacks, inverted wingbacks, and inverted fullbacks. And there are a lot of misconceptions that I'll be debunking. For the most part, fullbacks are pretty much extinct. When you think about the modern game, really, what most teams are using, they are using wingbacks. So really, Gary Neville is a perfect example. Because usually when you use a fullback, you have a winger up front who will just hit the crosses while the fullback just stays at the back and defends. Nowadays, there's a wing back, and so the wing back stretches the pitch while the person up front, which plays the wing position, will often invert, whether it's an inside forward or an inverted winger. I'm mentioning Kunde again as he perfectly describes the action you see from a wing back. The wing back is basically like a box to box wide fullback when you play FM, and I'll be clearing up the difference between a wing back and a complete wing back. As an example for the no nonsense fullback, you have Ben Mee, who is part of the Burnley Wall, one of the best defenses in the world right now. The no nonsense fullback just wants to clear the ball away, not really make any rash decisions, and it's always good when you want to protect the lead. Alright, so like I said, I'll be clearing some misconceptions. The complete wingback is actually not so complete. When you think of a complete wingback, you think of Alves or even Alexander Arnold. They don't really move back to defend, they actually stay up. So even someone like Porro, they are basically wingers who just happen to stay in deeper areas. They don't defend that much and they are often caught out. So the complete wing back is a lot of times a defensive liability for your team. So if you really just want a winger who plays in that defensive area and just hits in crosses and won't offer much defensively, then yeah, making use of a complete wing back makes a lot of sense. There isn't much difference between the inverted wingback and the inverted fullback. We have Cancelo as the example for an inverted wingback and Philip Lam for the example for an inverted fullback. The real difference will just be the inverted wingback stays further up compared to the inverted fullback. A similar difference that I mentioned for a wingback and a fullback. The inverted fullbacks are rarer these days. Most times people are using inverted wingbacks. But all in all, both of them would invert into midfield. But the starting positions will be different. The wingback will be further high up compared to the inverted fullback. Finally, we're done with defense and we're moving into the midfield positional roles. Rodri is the perfect example of a defensive midfielder. He's very good in his contributions in both attack and defense. Definitely someone that everyone wants in their team. Drop in the comments whether you think Rodri deserved the Ballon d'Or of last year and also who you think deserves the Ballon d'Or this year. Just like with Koundé, Busquets takes up two positional roles under Pep Guardiola in the classic golden era. Busquets played more as a halfback. When the team pushed forward, he moved back into defense to make the two centre backs become three. So that's something you see a lot if you're making use of a halfback. If you're using two centre backs behind them, the centre backs would spread out and then the halfback enters into defense to become the third centre back. From Enrique onwards, Busquets was more of a deep line playmaker. Deep line playmaker passes the ball a lot. Busquets, for many years in a row, had the most passes in the Barcelona squad. They are basically just a playmaker that plays deeper. You also expect some long balls once in a while. In general, a lot of Barca DMs will play as the deep line playmaker. Another good example will be Toni Kroos, who just retired, and also Marco Verratti. I don't think anyone fits the ball-winning midfielder role better than Gavi. Gavi puts his all in every single play. The way he tries to get back the ball, he tries to win back the ball. It's exactly what you want from a ball-winning midfielder. Also, ball-winning midfielders have very high aggression and tend to rack up a lot of cards, which is the real issue playing a ball winning midfielder. Also, they should be avoided when using only one DM because they tend to leave the spots you put them in. The goal of the ball winning midfielder is to win back the ball, so they are rarely ever in one place. So if you're going for a lone defensive midfielder, go for a DLP or a DM. The anchor man pretty much just stays ahead of the centre backs and just covers up space. They are like sweepers of defensive midfielders. They tend to cover just a very small area. A good example is Makalele. I can't really think of any anchor man right now in modern football. Next up, we have the register. The register is pretty much a DLP with less defensive duties. They are quite playmaking and they also tend to move forward. Like I said, for ball winning midfielder, it's never smart to play them as a lone midfielder. It's better they are paired with a more defensive player so that they are freer to roam as the playmaker. It's pretty much like playing an advanced playmaker in the defensive midfielder role. That's really what you get when you use a register. And obviously, the best example is Andrea Pirlo. For the roaming playmaker, Pedri is the perfect example, especially Pedri right now under Hansi Flick. The roaming playmaker is like a combination of a box-to-box midfielder combined with an advanced playmaker. They contribute to both attack and defense while also being able to pass the ball. And if you watch Pedri right now, he's doing everything. He's very high up in defensive actions, but also involved in chance creation. For defensive midfield roles, lastly we have the segundo volante. I rarely hear people talking about this positional role, and that's quite a shame because I use it in almost every 4-2-3-1 that I use. Pretty much they play similar to a box-to-box midfielder, but they also take a lot of long shots. A good example would be Barella, who plays for Inter Milan, also Ederson for Atalanta. McTominay is not necessarily a segundo volante in Napoli tactics, but it will be a good test to actually play him there because his motions, although further upwards, are similar to how a segundo volante will play, making runs from deep and taking long shots while also contributing defensively. Next up, we have central midfield roles, and we're starting with Toni Kroos. The central midfield role is more of a blank slate position, which means it depends more on the player's attributes rather than inbuilt instructions. So when put on defense or support, it doesn't really do much. The player's attributes are pretty much going to determine how he plays and also general team instructions. The central midfield on attack is basically a cheat code and has been so since at least FM19. If you want a central midfielder that scores a lot of goals, either use a CM on attack or a Mezzala. When I think of a box-to-box midfielder, Pogba in his prime back at Juventus is like the perfect example. They contribute to both attack and defense. They take long shots, crash into the box. All in all, a complete player, and they have a lot of attributes that they need to be good at. A great example of an advanced playmaker right now is Odegaard for Arsenal. I don't think I need to explain that much what an advanced playmaker is. For central midfield, they will often sit deeper, while when placed as an attacking midfielder, they will drop deep or move forward. Will basically play as a number 10. So as an attacking midfielder, they will play like how you expect Ozil to play. And then for when placed in the midfield position, it will be more like Kevin De Bruyne. Iniesta is a perfect example of a mezzala. Mezzala literally means a half winger, so they alternate between the midfield role and the half spaces in between where midfielders will play and where wingers will play. So if you want a midfielder that offers width and will move towards where the wings are, then a mezzala is a good role to use. Then you have Kante as the carrilero. Kante in real life is a bit of a mixture between a box-to-box and a carrilero. The carrilero basically just shuttles from side to side, that's left to right. So basically like a box-to-box midfielder that instead of going from attack to defense, just just moves around the edges of the pitch from left to right rather than going forwards. They are a more defensive version of the Mezzala,